Hi, my name is Jacqueline. I'm 34 years old. I'm an idiopathic brittle type 1 diabetic, and I need everyone's help. So, as far as that diagnosis, idiopathic type 1 brittle diabetes, I really wish I could explain it clearly in like less than 3 minutes, but there's no way in hell I can do that. What I can tell you is there are about 3 to 4,000 type 1 brittle diabetics in the United States right now, or at least that's what our estimate is. There also happens to be a lot of misinformation when it comes specifically to brittle type 1 diabetes. You'll see on various sites that it said that brittle type 1 diabetes is a result of not adhering to proper diet, to not taking your medicines on time, not listening to your doctors, not eating the right foods. You'll also see on various sites that a lot of people say type, or specifically brittle diabetes, is a result of psychological issues. Depression is a great example of that because, people tend to eat more when they're depressed, exercise less, are forgetful. So that basically, if you're clinically depressed, you might be eating or lapsing on the times you take your medication. And then last but not least is that maybe the brittle diabetic needs a new medical support team because maybe the doctors they're working with are just exhausted and burnt out. So, brittle type 1 diabetes has been researched in a few studies. And what research has shown is that type 1 brittle diabetics, like myself, we only have a 25-year life expectancy after the diagnosis of being brittle. And we are the footnote on medical research about type 1 diabetes. Because I am idiopathic, that means that I don't carry any genetic traits for type 1 diabetes. And in fact, I've had my genetics analyzed a couple of times. I carry 2 genetic traits that science today believes prevents people from getting type 1 diabetes. And then the 3rd trait they've identified as protecting people from getting type 2 diabetes. So, why is my story important to you? Why should you be concerned, right? Know any 5 or 6-year-olds? Do you have a 5 or 6-year-old? Because in 1987, might have been 86, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I was also diagnosed brittle at the first diagnosis. I became sick very quickly. By the time the doctor had realized what was happening, they had sent me to the hospital. I went into a coma shortly after my hospital gown was tied. I was lucky enough to come out of it, but I did not respond to proper medical treatment. And it's incredibly rare and pretty much unheard of to be diagnosed as brittle from the start. My doctors told my mom and dad that, I wouldn't make it to 30. I wouldn't be alive by then. Research has made a lot of advancements. Unfortunately, when you're the footnote, you get overlooked. So what that means is we have scientific proof that type 1 diabetics and type 1 brittle diabetics need to be treated in two very different ways. Type 1 diabetics, you can go with an aggressive approach of something like an insulin pump. But with brittle type 1 diabetics, we need the stakes upped. We need insulin pumps with continuous glucose monitors. We need isolate transplant therapies, and the thing is, we don't live a long time. We are the people who are forgotten. We are the people that doctors will get frustrated with and say, no, you can't be doing everything right. I've been lucky enough in the last couple of years to get two great doctors. And, they've been by my side the whole way. Unfortunately, in that time, my gastroparesis has gotten worse. There's severe nerve damage to the main artery, supplying blood to my stomach, and it's a gnarly complication. My small intestine, it has severe damage. It's at the point that my food list, what I can eat, what we know I can digest, is less than 20 items. I can no longer drink 8 ounces of water in one sitting, and in fact it's usually best that I only stay to 6 ounces in a given day in small sips, and looking for other things as resources for hydration. Cucumbers. Eat a lot of cucumbers. Eat a lot of radishes. I've also been diagnosed recently with proliferative diabetic retinopathy. I'm going blind, and my doctors, they really can't help me. I do everything right. I measure my food. I do my best not to get stressed out. And I am grateful because I'm 34. I was never supposed to make it this far. However, I'm suffering from horrific neuropathy. Losing the sensation in my fingers and my toes. It's not even when I can't feel them that's the worst part of it. It's when I can. Because, it's like you're touching shards of glass and razor blades, and your fingertips and your feet, they'll burn so badly. If you put your feet up, it doesn't matter. That pain still follows you. I notice my mouth is getting a little dry from the dehydration. My stomach, though, can't tolerate water for the most part. I wanted what every 5-year-old kid wants. I wanted to grow up and be a healthy grown-up one day. And I wanted to get an education, and I wanted to have an incredible job, and I wanted to have a family. I wanted to grow old and cranky and wrinkly. And I wanted to be able to see millions of amazing sunsets. More than likely, this disease will kill me in the next few years. Medi-Cal refuses to approve an insulin pump with a continuous blood glucose monitor in it. Partly because I am type 1. See, there hasn't been a classification between type 1 diabetes and brittle type 1 diabetes, which means that even though we know the diseases act differently, that we know they respond differently by ignoring this, type 1 diabetics everywhere are getting skewed and incorrect information. And brittle type 1 diabetics like me are still dying. They're still in the footnotes. They're still the ones everybody forgot. Now, my life is very difficult. And this disease has taken almost everything away from me. And now, it's taking my sight. I can accept that bad things happen, that I didn't get the education, I didn't get the career, I didn't get the family. I am not going to get to grow old, most likely. And I'm probably not going to be able to see any more sunsets soon. I can handle all of that, and I can accept it, and I can come to peace with it. But I can't do it if I just end up being another forgotten footnote. So that another 5-year-old today is being diagnosed with brittle type 1 diabetes, and they're going to go through the same thing. I can't come to terms with that reality. And all I'm asking you is to share this video. Start those conversations. And if you don't think it applies to you, that's not really all that important. Think of every 5-year-old you know. Because I'm okay. I'm okay coming to terms with this. If I know that it will save someone, that it'll give someone a chance to make wishes and have dreams and have them come true. So please, share this video. Get those conversations started. Thanks for your time.